So my new case is in, Define R4 Fractal design. Also a box from Newegg containing my new CPU cooler and power supply. This is so I can transfer all my guts from my old case for my ESXi server into its new home. This case will allow me to add 8 3.5-inch drives to it, and I will later on be expanding that as well. This is why I'm doing the transplant. Alright, so here's it in a small box. I've got the Corsair 750 CX750M, which is modular, right? So pretty nice. I don't have to use all the cables if I don't need them. I think as of now I'm only going to need just a couple in here besides you know, the main power, the 4-pin and whatnot that's in there. So I got that. It's supposed to be a good case. A lot of good and bad reviews on it. Apparently they had a bad batch where they were making a lot of noise, very, very whiny. I've had really good luck with these Corsair power supplies. I haven't used the 750M, but I do have, and we'll go over here and show you. I did put a 650 in my PC here, which uses the Skylake 6600 Intel chip. You can't even see it, but it's down there anyway. There's a I'm sorry, yeah, 750 power supply, just a CX, a non-modular in there. This is the one that, this PC here is my ESXi server. It's a very old case. I've had it for a couple of years. It's got an old Cool Master or something like that, or Monster power supply in it. We're going to get rid of that. It's got some loud fans in there, and we're getting rid of that. We're putting it in that new Fractal design case we got in today. And then I've also got a, I think it's the 500 power supply, CX750 in my NAS here. This is the Fractal Design 304 case. So here, so we'll be gutting this one out, my ESXi server, and putting a new case, which I have here, right? The Define R4 Fractal Design, and we'll be giving it a new power supply, and we'll be putting a new CPU cooler on it, the Hyper 212 EVO. I've used that also on my NAS. That works really well. I do have another Cool Master. I can't remember the model of it. The Liquid Freya or whatever it's called, or something like that. It's kind of a newer model. That one works really well. And again, I have that one in my new Skylake case over there. So, and I also got some thermal grease. All right, pretty mandatory, good stuff here. It's the Arctic Silver. So shouldn't have any problems there. So let me go ahead and pull the old case out, get it up here, show you what it looks like, and then I'm going to gut it and start building the new one. All right, we got the old case decommissioned here, the ESXi server. So here's the guts I'm going to be pulling out of this, right? So it's a MSI H97-G43 MSI motherboard with a 4690 i5, 4th gen i5 Intel CPU on it. Got kind of a mismatch of memory at the moment. These two sticks are 8 gig. What brand are they? Corsair, yeah. Two 8 gigs, so I got 16 gig of Corsair DDR3 here. And then we've got another 8 gig, right, 2 4s down here of some Patriot memory that's in there. So it does work and operate. Later on I'll be pulling all this memory out and putting in a 32 gig Corsair set of memory in there as well. So that's not going to be, probably not going to be done for a couple weeks. So this will get me by for sure. I got more than enough memory for what I do, just running some test images and whatnot. So who knows, maybe I'll never do it, but we'll see. And here's the old power supply we're going to retire. And it is a Thermaltake, I'm sorry, yeah, Thermaltake 700 watt. It's been a decent power supply. It's 80 plus bronze, but I'm going to go ahead and try this new modular one out that I got, and maybe that'll help on the cable management a little bit. As you can see here, we're not cable managed at all. So I've got my SSD drive here, and I've got 3 500 gig Western Digital drives in there that I use as storage pools for various images. So we'll be, you know, using everything but the power supply in the case And I'm going to take off this factory fan and put a that EVO 212 on it. I did also get the other day when I was at the store, I got brand new SATA cables for this as well. So I got four cables, and then we got the 4 drives here, right? So we'll have all new SATA cables in there as well. And the new case is going to allow me to really tidy things up in cable management. So it should look pretty cool when I'm done. So and it'll be really super quiet. That Fractal design case has really low noise fans, and you know, it's a solid case, no windows in it and stuff, and that's what it's designed for, is to run quiet. So this is definitely the noisiest machine I have in this room, and so I did want to quiet it down. So that's why I chose the case and everything that I did. That, and it can hold a bunch more drives, right? So my goal is to probably get rid of these WD blues, put in some other drives, and then rate it out. My new case will allow me to do 8 3.5-inch drives in there. So you know, maybe I'll just start out with 4 drives and rate them out or something like that into a you know, like a RAID 10 or something like that, so I can get a little bit of redundancy, and then also the speed to run the images really crisp and clean. So that's it. I'm going to go ahead and gut this out, and we'll be back soon. That didn't take very long, a couple minutes, and we got the case gutted out. As you can see here, we have no motherboard, we have no drives, we have no CD-ROM reader, DVD. I'm going to go ahead and leave this fan in there because it's super noisy. Leaving the power supply in there as we got a new one. And pretty much it for this bad boy. We're getting ready to retire that. And we're going to come over here. Got the board out. And again, I'm going to pull this off now and clean it up. I got a can of dust off. We're going to clean that up. We're going to pull this off. We're going to clean up the top of the CPU and everything, get it prepped. Then we're going to put our new 212 EVO cooler on it with some grease, right? Some Arctic Silver on there. So, oops, turn that around. Here we go. Some Arctic Silver grease on it. So we should be good to go. As I said before, I got a couple different types of memory in there. It's DD3 1600 everything. But I got some Patriot and some Corsair. The Patriots are 2 2-gig modules. No, 2 4-gig modules, my bad. So that's 8 gig. And then the Corsairs are a couple 8s for 16, so only like 24 gig of RAM. DDR3 1600 in this, so that's going to be enough to get me by for the day and get everything transplanted. I'll consider working on the memory at another time. So we got the CPU cooler off, the factory one. You see there, it's got the old thermal paste on there. It was applied pretty evenly. It had a nice little circle on top of the CPU. We went ahead and cleaned that off. Still got a little bit more cleanup to do. It's got a little bit of residue on it. I had to use just a touch of rubbing alcohol on a bandage gauze. I like to do that because it doesn't leave any lint or anything. And just kind of real, you know, soft circular motions pick up all the thermal grease off of that. So get it all clean so we can get ready for the new application of the new cooler. So that's it. Somewhat of a tight fit, but we got it in there. It's kind of limited to my positioning of the fan, which direction I could go with it. As you can see here, being such a big cooler, I couldn't turn it 90 degrees. It would hang over the RAM, and the RAM's set up way too high on this board for this to clear this cooler. So have I gotten low profile sticks or swapped these around the positions, it would have worked, but I don't know what I'm going to do yet for the RAM, so I didn't do that. I left it as is, so if I do get high profile memory like I have here, and to add on to this or just replace all this, it'll still work. So I'm in this position with the airflow going into the fan, out of the cooler, and then there should be an exhaust fan over here in the case on this side, pulling it out from the top. So that should work pretty well. Flow everything out, and then of course I got all the fans it'll be, you know, down in here by the hard drives. So I get 2 fans in the front of that case as well, pushing air into it as well. So it'll keep everything circulated and pushing out towards the exhaust side. So that's my plan. That's what I hope anyway. So it was a tight fit, but it fit up there. The fan had to mount all the way to the very top. It's flush, so it's not hanging out or anything like that. It's definitely flush with the bracket. And in fact, I've got about a thumbnail down from the very, very top. So it's, you know, cooling maybe not optimal in the very, very center, but it is covering it. So we should be fine there. I don't overclock this or anything anyway, so this is probably way overkill. The factory stock fan kept it pretty decent cool anyway. And, you know, you maxed it all out for a little bit of period of time. Things would heat up just a touch, but it never overheated. I was never in, you know, any warning or danger area on that. So, but this should keep it cooler even like it is. So, so I think that's about it for the board. I didn't have to take the CPU out. I just cleaned it all up. Put some Arctic silver on it. We mounted the bracket underneath for the EVO cooler. Put the new cooler on. We left all the memory in it. It's pretty much good to go. So I'm going to push this aside, pull out the case, and let's take a look at that. I haven't even unboxed the case yet. Truly a gorgeous case. It's just not flimsy at all. Very, very sturdy. Very, very heavy. In fact, let me grab the side panels for this that I pulled off already. Have this sound deadening material on it for the quietness. And I mean, they are just the heaviest side panels I've ever picked up on a case before. So, you know, if you're looking for something lightweight, this is probably not the case. It's wider than a normal case because you get some great cable management in the back. You have lots of room for your cables. Very, very nice. I'm liking this a lot. I did pull the center cage out of here, 2 thumb screws. One at the top there, one at the bottom. And then this cage just slides right out. I did that to look at the fans back here. As you can see, they did have 1 fan. I thought it came with 2 fans, but it does not. So not a big deal at the moment. I'm probably going to leave the cage out. So I only got those 3 Western Digital 500 gig drives. I'll put down here, and the fan will blow right over those. And I think it's got an SSD mount in the back. Yeah, right up in here I think is where the SSD mounts to. I'll have to look at the book on that, but I thought it did have a separate SSD mount somewhere. I'll figure that out. We'll find a home for that. That really doesn't need any cooling. It doesn't run hot at all, of course. My drives really don't run hot either, like lukewarm to the touch after running for, you know, multiple days. So no big deal there. But I want to keep everything as cool as I can, and lots of air flowing through it, so I don't have any problems. But I'm really liking this so far. It is Fractal Design makes just, you know, really, really, really nice cases. This is the Define R4. They have the R5 out now, I think, which has the pad across the top if you don't use the fans. But this already has the padding in it already. This sound deadening pad. You see it up top there. You can't. Sorry, bad light. But there's pads up here for that. So since I'm not going to be doing any water cooling or anything, I'll leave those pads up there. Very, very nice case. And I already have the 304 that I did my NAS on. You can see there. I really like that case a lot. That's why I kind of wanted to lean towards a Fractal design for this ESXi. And later on, I am going to be, maybe this case or something similar to it, we'll be moving my NAS over to another case as well and retiring the 304 case as I want to put in more drives. And I've already got 5 drives in that little 304, so I only got 1 more slot left. And then I'm gonna, because I want to put another 4 drives, so I want 8 Western Digital 3 terabyte drives in there, red NAS drives. So I'll just add on to the 4 that I already have. And I also have an SSD in there for the OS and the boot and everything. And I did put a Supermicro JBOD SAS SATA controller card, which is capable of handling 8 SATA drives on that. So with that card, and then I got like 5 SATA ports on the motherboard as well. I can, you know, I can still maintain the hardware in that. I just need to put everything in a different case and then add more drives to it. So Yeah, but I'm liking this a lot. This is really nice. So let me go ahead and read the doc on it. Yeah, try to get some standoffs in here. They're not built on. We'll get that up. We'll get the motherboard in there. This fan, my CPU cooler, is going to be pointing just like I thought towards the back here. So this exhaust fan will pull everything out. That's going to work out really, really well. I like that. Yeah. So, yeah, we should be good to go there. I might even... No, I can do that at any time because it's very accessible. Put another fan in here, probably sooner rather than later. Looks like it's got, I'm not sure if it's a dust screen or more padding back up there, but I'll have to pull the front off and take a look at it as well. But I do like the case. Looks very, very nice. Let me try and spin it around here. See the front, it's not too light. So it's a very clean, simple looking case. Got some USB 3s and 2s. Got my audio stuff and mic, power button reset, and then just the blank cover on there. I think it opens up as well. The door does. To get to your... Oh, there we go. I heard these are reversible too. I'm not sure about that, but it would be nice if I could get this door to work on the other side. Look at that skull. I got the padding in there, all soundproof. So this should be a really nice, quiet case. I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, I got my NAS and my PC running now together, and the way I built those and designed those to be quiet, I mean, you can't even hear them run in there. So, as I said before, in that old case, that old fan and the stock cooler and everything, it was definitely the noisiest machine in the house, so I will be getting rid of that. So, that's it. Talk to you soon. So we got the board in. It went very, very smooth. I read, some of the reviews where some of the standoffs were put in at an angle, and people had a big problem with it. And mine went in perfectly straight. Every single one of them. They were very easy. They gave me a little tool. I just thumb tightened them down. They even gave me little black screws for all of them. They went all the way around the board, a couple in the center, matched up perfect. Very easy fit. Put in my TP-Link Ethernet card in the PCIX slot down here, only because the onboard Realtek, even though it's got a Realtek, the onboard Realtek, the chipset in it, wouldn't work with ESXi. So I did find a driver for this cheap TP-Link here, and then I slipstreamed that into the ESXi installer, and it worked fine. So I'm just using this card for now. Maybe I'll switch it over to an Intel or something like that, but I did some transfers back and forth, and saturating my gigabit Ethernet as it is anyway. And my next kind of journey in this, why I'm getting different cases and stuff like that, is so I can also do 10 gig Ethernet. So I'm really not concerned with this inexpensive TP-Link card now. It does a great job, by the way. It's just I'm not even using jumbo frames or anything, and I'm getting anywhere from 112 to 115 transfer across the wire. So, hey, I can live with that. So, that's it. And we got my CPU fan plugged in here. I got my card in, got my board all secure. So I think my next step is going to be popping the power supply and just hook up the bare bone minimum to the board. To get it to power on, make sure my fans spin, go into the CMOS, check out the temps of my CPU, and if all that checks out fine, then I can go ahead and put everything together, put all my drives in, start cable managing it, etc. So stay tuned. Well, I got everything back together finally. During the transplant from my old case to my new case, my MSI board took a dive. Tried to, get it booted up inside the case, and the fans would, kick on for about a second and then go off. Immediately I thought it was maybe the new power supply. So I disconnected this Corsair power supply and then put the old 500 watt power supply back on it. Same problem. Did a little research, stripped everything, pulled all the memory out, the little network card, pulled that out, reset the CMOS. Still same problem. Was reading online that if the screws are too tight, it'll short out the board. Try backing them off, etc. Did that. Still same problem. So I went ahead and just bit the bullet and went down, and I got this ASUS H97-PLUS board. And went ahead, and while I was down there, I picked up some more RAM as well. So should have a 32 gig of memory in there now. All DDR3 1600. All Corsair memory. So, things went pretty well after that. So, got my 3 drives down here. I found out after I put everything together that how you mount the SSD on the back is before you put the motherboard in, right? So, I'm like, I'm not taking it out tonight. So, I went ahead and just mounted it to one of these trays here, my Samsung 250 gig SSD, and just stuck it in there for now. Maybe someday I'll pull the board out and put the SSDs on the back. I think that's kind of a crazy little scenario there for those guys to make you do that, but that's the way it is, right? You're supposed to read the book first, and I didn't, so oh well. So things, as far as cable management goes, went really well. Everything goes down through the bottom. I got some SATA cables coming up through the top here, and coming up top here for 1 and 2. I'm sorry, this is my USB 3.0 here, and then I got 2 SATA cables right underneath it there for that. So you see in there. So yeah, that's my USB 3. Then I got 2 SATAs back in there. Rest of my SATAs are all down here. So I got 3 more of those populated down here. And one of those is for the for the CD, DVD, and the other one's for the SSD. So this wire here is for the front fan in the case. They didn't give me very long wires, so I couldn't really, route it up through the top and come down, so it was all, nice and tucked away. So I just kind of stretched it across the board and plugged it in for now. I'll try to get an extension for that, and then I'll put it behind the case and probably come through the top up there, one of those holes, and just come down and plug it in here, and it'll be all nice and managed. So looked pretty well. A problem that I did have is once I got it all booted up and running, I noticed that it was booting into the ESXi operating system, but after it got loaded up, it didn't see any of my storage pools. In fact, it didn't even see the images that are on the disk that it boots off of. I was kind of bizarroed by that, so I just ran my install ISO again, and went through the whole procedure through the detect. But when it came to the drives, there was no drives available for it to do the install or add a storage pool or anything. Kind of like what I saw through vSphere when I pulled it up and took a look in there. All my storage pools were gone. So I did some more research and found out that I had to slip stream another driver into the ISO to get this to work. The AHCI controller set on this board is not in the VMware ESXi 5.5 ISO. So luckily somebody posted that, and I went ahead and downloaded it, slipstreamed it in. So now I got 2 slipstream drivers in there. One is the Realtek driver for the network cards, and then the other one is for the AHCI chipset for this ASUS board. Everything came on fine. I ran the install from the custom ISO, and I just chose the upgrade to keep all my guest images and stuff intact, all my storage pools and everything, keep from overwriting everything. And it laid down the whole nother copy along with the new drivers in there, and I rebooted and everything just came up fine. So same name, same password. All my images appeared there, and when I clicked on them to launch them, and I launched them all. When I launched them, I had a choice between either move or copy, but since I just didn't want to create new UUIDs or MAC addresses or anything else, I just said move, and then it just went ahead and I launched them all, and I stopped them and restarted them, and everything seems to be working fine on it now. So I'm definitely back to where I was for all my guest images on the server. So that's pretty much it for the night. I'm going to tie a couple things up here I need to look online. There's a couple extra cables coming out of the front case. I'm not really sure what they're for. I think there's a control switch on one for the fans. I'm going to look at that and make sure that's what that is. I'm just running these off the motherboard controller there, but it's got a switch on the front panel that you can turn them on for different voltages to increase or decrease the fan speeds. So that's kind of cool, but it does have a couple other cables there. I'm not sure what they're for, so I'm going to figure that out. But that's pretty much it for the night. I'm going to strap down some cables in the back and put the covers on it and call it a night. But I'm considering this a success. Thanks.